I'd read a number of things about it, and a lot of people that I respected, I guess, were starting to rave and say very positive things about it. And then looking at the spec, there was an issue, primarily a kind of single issue, that was proving problematic within the context of doing the Crimson gig, which is I'm using two outputs here. So I'm using the standard pickup and pickup selector, but I've also got, there's a piezo pickup in the bridge. So prior to using the Helix, I was using the Kemper for the electric, and I had a separate DI, which was going straight into the PA. And I had either an on-off switch or a volume pedal, and I was forever forgetting to either turn it on or turn it off. Plus, I had no real control over what it sounded like above and beyond the rather straight, kind of dry, kind of unpleasant aspect of the piezo. So when I saw this actually you could have more than one input and you could treat them separately. And as you see on there, the top line is the electric and the effects that I've got on that, and then the bottom one is the piezo. So I can then tweak that and EQ it and put effects on it. So this is the kind of piezo sound, very presenty and acoustic like. And I'm able to put a bit of compression and a bit of reverb, and then I can mix it with the electric end, give it a bit of warmth, and then you've got the two. And of course I can save that as a preset, which means that I can go from that to really heavy without the piezo instantly and not have to worry about it. So that was one of the first things that drew me to it. And then of course, once I started looking at it and trying them out, the other thing is how intuitive the whole programming the effects side is. You know, when you're programming stuff in or trying to program in effects, and you think actually the compressor would sound better if it was after that effect, you know, that can often be fiddly. Whereas of course on here it's a piece of piss. Can I say that? Is it? where you can, you just click on it and then move it to where you would like it to be, and then save it. So it was really, really easy to tweak and program. I think the thing that always appeals to guitar players, in theory at least, is that idea of having a million different rigs in one box, that's portable, that doesn't require shifting a 4x12, that doesn't necessarily mean you're playing at full whack on 100 watt and blowing your and everybody else's ears out. And as each new piece of technology comes along, you convince yourself that it's doing that, and then you get used to it, and then so I think that was always the attraction with the Line 6 thing. But this seems to be, for me, this had the combination of A, they'd finally got the kind of sounds right and convincing, and B, it's a solid professional unit, because other bits of kit, when you're on the road, particularly in a band like Crimson, where certainly for me, I've got to keep my wits about me as it is, without having to worry about the gear. And this feels like a much more durable, professional piece of kit. The other thing was, of course, with this mad innovation of having not only three drummers, but the three drummers being in front of us on the floor. Obviously, I couldn't have a 4x12 blaring out, because the first thing that's going to hit is 3 loads of overheads. So I had to have something that could, generate all those sounds, and not be reliant upon, a big cab and some air. And so this does that remarkably well. There are moments where I'm trying to recreate Robert's kind of classic, his kind of, Robert's classic fuzz tone. again, you can. It's trial and error, and you're going through all the different fuzz tones and trying to emulate the past, because there are moments where in this version of Crimson we are able to recreate the overdubs that Robert would have done on the original recording. For instance, when on some pieces where there's been, a heavy guitar playing an arpeggiated part, which is then overdubbed with a cleaner sound or an acoustic, in this context, I've got both. I've got the pizzo with one sound with the heavy. So it doesn't turn to mush. You've got the clean sound in there too, so you can hear the notes, quite clearly. In terms of in the studio, you end up with a sound that there's that moment where you're responding to it and vice versa. I mean, that sounds a bit airy-fairy, but that, you know what I mean? Sometimes the guitar will even feel different because of the sound that's coming out of the unit. There becomes this kind of unity going on, and you respond to it. And historically, I guess, coming from at one point I was quite purist about this, because I'd used loads of pedals, and then I stopped using any pedals at all, and it was all down to the amp. So all your options were the amp, the guitar, the lead, and more significantly, I guess, the microphones and where you place them. And that would be what dictated the sound that I would utilize in a studio setting. Whereas of course here it's infinitely variable, and a lot of those things that were purely down to the acoustics of the room or the response of a mic. Now you can tweak it endlessly and quickly on this. That's the thing. It's pretty simple. I'm coming out the stereo. I use on one tune. I'm using this pedal that emulates a mellotron. So that's permanently on, and then when I go to that patch, you're hearing the sound that I've programmed. You're hearing an octavider within it, plus this external kind of mellotron brass thing to give this big, enormous sound. But again, because it's programmed and stored as part of that loop, I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to turn that on and off. So it means you can integrate other bits of equipment and just leave them, because it will all be stored as part of that patch. So you just hit a button, and on that stuff comes, and you go somewhere else and it's gone, And that's invaluable, really.